Did you need something? Sure. What is it? I was raised in Hope Town on Polvo. It's a corporate town run by Ron Hope, the CEO of Hope Tech Manufacturing. He likes to sell it as a utopia, a place where workers are provided everything they need for a happy life. But that's a lie. The conditions are awful for the average person in Hope Town. Almost everyone there lives hand to mouth. I think more people would if they had the chance. But Hope Tech makes it almost impossible. They barely make enough to keep the lights on, let alone start a new life outside of Hope Town. That's why I joined the Freestar Rangers. I knew they'd fly me to Aquila for training, and I wanted to do something more meaningful with my life than building starships. I thought being a ranger would be a perfect fit, but it didn't turn out like I was expecting. Ordering the ship to leave Hope Town might be the best thing that happened to me while I was a deputy. In the stories I heard growing up, the Rangers were always described as the ultimate champions of justice in the galaxy. But if you've spent any time in the Freestar Collective, it's obvious that they haven't even made a dent in the problems there. Just look at Neon. Poverty and crime are all over the city, but the Rangers barely bothered to patrol it. Learning that made me reconsider my opinion of them. No apology needed, huh? It's not your fault. For all that working with the Rangers wasn't for me, I still learned a lot. It was eye-opening to see how people live all over the Freestar Collective. I thought the conditions in Hope Town were unique, but leaving Polvo showed me I was wrong about that. It showed me that Ron Hope's attitude isn't unique. The Freestar Collective is full of people willing to take advantage of others to get what they want. And there are barely any systems in place to stop them. No one to tell them no or punish them for it. That's the downside of the Freestar way of doing things, huh? No social safety nets. It's hard for anyone born into poverty to improve their situation, especially with people like Ron Hope and Benjamin Bayou in power. He's the administrator of Neon. He basically owns the city. I like to say that not a credit gets spent on Volai Alpha that doesn't end up in Bayou's pocket. I feel sorry for anyone who has to grow up there. Polvo was bad, but at least we didn't have violent gangs. You're not alone. Most Freestars aren't very good at introspection. I took plenty of flack for criticizing the Rangers before I left the Freestar Collective behind. The longer I spent with the Rangers, the more I started to feel like they serve the Freestar Collective's government more than its citizens. I couldn't make peace with the fact that an organization that claimed to stand for freedom and individuality let places like Hope Town exist. Eventually, the hypocrisy was too much. I made the decision to resign and move to the UC. Seemed like people there might share more of my views. Nobody does murder and extortion like the Crimson Fleet either. I think I'll pass. I thought I did, at first. New Atlantis is clean and safe, and most of the people there are happy. And it seemed like the government was doing a lot to keep it that way. But my perspective changed after I took an entry-level job with UC Security. They stationed me in the well. I couldn't believe the conditions down there. It made all the UC talk of a perfect society seem like propaganda. The more I started looking around, the more cracks I saw in the whole thing. The UC makes a show of promising job placement and housing options to all its citizens. But if those programs exist in the well, there's no sign of them. Most people down there live in the same conditions I saw in Hopetown. There's crime and unemployment, and a lack of good medical care. It's nothing like the rest of New Atlantis. But you'd never know that from the outside, of course. I think the UC government doesn't like people challenging its decisions, or remembering its history in too much detail. Mast did some horrific things during the Colony War. They'd rather people forget about them, especially citizens who might start demanding a change. Best way to maintain the status quo is to keep people from examining things closely. Consistent propaganda is a good tool for that. Their treatment of the Sol system to begin with. It's one of humanity's greatest treasures, and they've let it fall into total disarray. The UC's insistence on maintaining a large and well-equipped military is also a bit off-putting. If they're committed to intergalactic peace, why do they need it? Those are the kinds of questions you almost never hear UC citizens ask. I think that comes down to good marketing on Mast's part. It all seems just a little bit too shiny when you really start to look closely, huh? I'm glad I'm not the only one who thinks so. Once the wool fell from my eyes, living in New Atlantis lost its luster. That's when I decided life in the major factions wasn't for me. The problems run too deep. There's corruption and division everywhere, and not enough people are willing to see it. I don't think that will change anytime soon. It seems to me like the only option is starting over, huh? Founding a colony without the influence of massive governments and corporations. Maybe people would be kinder to each other in a place like that. I've always tried to see the best in people. I really believe that the average person wants what's best for everyone around them. I think without the influence of big governments and greedy corporations, people will treat each other better. You read my mind, Captain. You're really getting to know me, huh? I've been thinking about the idea of founding my own settlement for a while. It isn't in my nature to sit around while the problems in the settled systems get worse. But I'm not rushing into anything. If I'm really going to do this, I need to get a better sense of how people live all over the settled systems. That means visiting the major cities and looking at both the good things and the bad. That way, I can decide what things I want to keep and what I am going to leave behind. Good thing I'm working for a captain that likes to travel, huh? We'll hit all the major cities in no time. I appreciate it. And don't you worry, I won't let this distract me from my normal duties. You're still the boss. Always a pleasure, Captain.